Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to the stream. Sorry, later I expected, uh, but all set up and running. I went back, had to listen back to the previous stream and tried to some settings. I'm overexposing my face, but at the same time, same as the cutting mat was at the time. The camera was focusing on cutting and not my model. So, I'm going to see how this goes. Black background, have that up a little bit better. Dust protect. And this is what we worked on last time. Is, so I've done a little bit of work, especially hair. I've gone over and done it a couple of times. I didn't like how it was turning out initially, but I've given it a bit of a go. Changed out the palette a little bit. Still got a little bit of red and beard, which I was working on. Like I find that it's come out better. As well as working on some shadows in the skin. So trying to find a little bit of extra redness and coloration, shadow definition, the arms, smoothing things out. Well, I have worked on some of the leather here. The two main things that I feel like I need to work on this model at the moment. Little strings for his necklace, and of course the pauldron. So the pauldron is going to be a bit of a little bit worried about trying to do non-metallic metal on that one. And I kind of feel like it needs to be a slightly different shade to the other non-metallic metal bits. And from there, once most sketch, uh, fine. Um, Closely, I've tried to do a little bit of a cast shadow. Either that's not from light coming from my painting directly down, at least some parts of the neck, chest, a little bit behind here, but just sort of the bigger elements, a little bit on his necklace there. Well, so a few little elements coming through, trying not to overemphasize, had to dial them back a little bit from time to time. The eyes not done. Kind of like not a wargaming piece. So got started on working on the base for Vampire 75mm project. Needs a little bit more color interest, but I've got the basics, just the basis of it, getting the tracks fine, getting everything, getting all the points around, make sure that they're well defined and see well as cobblestone. I think it's a good start. Fair bit of work to go just on the base. Haven't even started figure, so I'm going to be putting with it. But I also have some ideas work some of the stain stains in actually in the fountain. I want to make it like it is oxidizing. Exactly how that and some moss and areas. And then towards the end of the project, when the main figure, as well as this, using the airbrush to put in some extra interest, some tone, purple shadow, especially that coming at the model, and put a little bit more color in. It's kind of the idea at the moment, but at least from a starting point, that for the base. I don't know, felt like a full hobby night that night where I just wanted to work on something simple, work on work on the bass. Working quite enjoyed. I really quite enjoyed working just green gray. Oh, there we go. Was just mucking around with it, but in terms of using the dark shadow, and a lot of the base coating stone I use for dark sea blue, this green will accentuate all the cracks quite nicely. Actually, very happy how that came. Red sort of didn't come out as I hoped. I try and product. It's I did pick this up, which is dark crimson. Or seen that on a friend's project. That quite nice. But I mixed that in burnt umber, sienna umber, just to make it look like brown oxidized a little bit more. Yeah, that actually quite come out. Obviously, just what's going on, but once the model's on there, I'll know where the shadows are. So, you know, little by little, I haven't been working on this one specifically. So haven't had a lot of opportunities. Busy work and book clubs and keeping up with things, all the other different hobbies that come in. Looking at this piece with Guild in coming up in 5 weeks, I only have about 4 weeks to work something because I will be traveling to Sydney earlier. I'll be I'll be doing my family visits, staying with people and catching good does. I'm not sure whether this necessarily will be entered. I haven't registered it at the moment, but yeah, I'm very happy with how it's turning. I think good camera up. It looks very good. Pretty happy with it. It is a simple piece. It is very so if I were to compare the size of this one compared to this one, which is an academic bust, this one full bust, in comparability in size, they're not that far off. Whereas what you expect from an academic is a few elements, things to focus on, cut off at the arm, waist up, academic that you're practicing, doing work, focusing on specific elements. Uh, so it's kind of has the structure of an academic. It is the size of a bust almost. So it's kind of in between. So I'm a little bit, unsure. If I do get it finished, maybe I'll enter it as I'm planning the master's category for the first time. Wishful thinking, potentially. Uh, if I come up with nothing, that's fine. It's just I want to go up against the best. I'm not I'm not a super competitive person. I mean, when it comes to board games, that's probably a different story. Um, but I do enjoy being able to see where I sit with my painting. I do feel like quite a lot, but I'm still working on it, still learning. we've got the Melbourne Figure Painting Collective meet coming up on this Sunday. Really good. I'm very much looking forward to catching up with people. Sometimes very little painting does happen. It's the way it goes. We tend to chat a lot, talk about composition of things that we're working. We try to recruit people, but we're just willing to be open, talk to everyone, looking at their things they're working on, new pieces, people that are going to build for the first time, making travel to Melbourne, Sydney, which we really see to it. I know you are really and being such a painting focused event, um, it's just a lot of might start on the non-metallic metal, which is a daunting task. Normal, not that proficient at non-metallic metal. I do small elements pretty well, trying to do secondary, make sure that it's separated or even go across. Trying to make those elements are separated and bounce the secondary lights as vibrant. Uh, I think once I try and color change the sort of the shadow side, but from the main bounce light straight back, which I do think at least band coming off at the moment. Uh, but I'm not 100% sure. Work on it. Yeah, something to keep reviewing. Uh, and it's been a fun. Quite a bit. At the moment, I've been using artist brush. So for the bigger element, then I've been going down one. The problem is the two up pretty well very quickly. So it's got a still got a point once it's being used. Doesn't say definitely doesn't have the same more of a perhaps yeah, but it's work with. But given we're doing such a big area, now what I'm going to do is have, what I want to look up is reference to shoulder. So these are the issues that you have with it. And it doesn't want to what you do. Okay, here we go. So now let's see. Cool issue. Uh, now what I'm looking at leather on a metallic spell. want something rough. References to your friend for that. Going to be rather difficult. Be the exact angle of light that I'm looking. The other option too is to so this is a Calder's miniature. Uh, that now the images is artwork. That's the box art done by Calder itself. The one that's I don't know if it's using a representing material at the same time the light is similar. Feel like a little bit- Oh, there you go. So that's the box art. But you see, yeah, that different one light, different elements. Yes, light direction. Got our painting light that is guide, got the box art guide, have an idea, but make think having light that brighter elements that I like. So audio is a little patchy and cutting out, but the painting is fine. The painting I haven't done, thanks, Melody. All right. Audio cutting in and out. So, as in all audio or just my microphone? Cutting out, just get rid of that. Let's see what happens there. I can also increase the gain that I'm having. I'm trying to make sure that there's no background noise, but I can increase the gain just by a little toggle and see how that works in terms of audio. Maybe I've got too many filters on. Don't know. I'm using some software to try and level out my voice. It's always interesting to see how that works, but yeah, see how that goes. Let me know if my voice is still cutting out, because as far as I can tell from the mixes, my voice is loud. So it shouldn't be cutting out, which I don't quite understand. Now, the patchiness was something I was trying to work on because I wasn't happy with it last time. Let's do... Now I'm going to get some paint out. See if I can bring in my palette. So using some dark sea blue. This is, of course, the Pro Acryl version, which I've been using a fair bit lately. I've enjoyed using it. Now, my usual non-metallic metal recipe, well, it used to be Chimera, focus camera, silver grey, medium sea grey, and then I would go into either a cool or warm light, depending on what that was. So either an ivory or a white blue, wolf grey, something like that. Lately, very recently, I have tried using simple neutral gray. So that way I'm making a transition, a little bit more of a transition between the colder colors and the colder bases up through cold blues, going to a neutral gray, and then going into the warmer highlights. So I'm going to continue doing that and see how it turns out. I can see myself completely repainting this when I'm done, to be honest. Now, yes, I do have a vortex mixer. Honestly, it gives me a lot of reminiscent of being at uni, good old science school. But it does help with shaking paints, particularly thick, gluggy ones like a lot of the chimeras. Some of the things that don't mix well or highly pigmented. So let's see if I can bring that in a little bit more. Now, I'm not setting up my palette to do some big sketchy work. I'm just focusing on the one element. So, you know, I've got a whole palette here. This is an A4 sized palette. And normally I would line things across the side. When I'm just starting out, I'm sketching things in, doing whatever I like. But when I'm focusing on individual elements, I tend to set up, you know, part of my project in this quarter, and then I'll set up the next part in this quarter. It's just what works for me. It's not the most efficient way, admittedly. You know, people will have their own methods. You know, I've watched a number of other people paint and how they work things, and those that can figure out how to do palette cams. I have not figured out how to do that without, you know, doing it manually. But having a palette cam set up at all times would be, you know, it'd be cool. It's a nice luxury. But I'm not a master mixer, so if you're looking for tips, I usually brute force my way through it and figure it out as I go. So at the moment, I'm just going to start with a little bit of, so I base coated this in dark sea blue. I'm going to be adding in a little bit of that cooler silver gray. So I get an in-between color and starting my sketch from there. I'm going to be trying to make bigger jumps and cover up most of the area itself. So because our main light areas were through here. Now, I'm not going to worry too much about, I just want to get this down quickly. I just want to cover as much area as possible. Where the light will sort of hit, and just real quick sketch in like that. Now there's a dent here. There's a lot of elements here. Of course, all the edges here will be catching light. There'll be a transition through here. It's just these things that I'm trying to think about in advance and really analyze where my work is going in the early stages before I'm trying to figure things out too much. If it's not working, I can always redo it. Now this is coming out a bit matte. So I'm going to, I wish I had a little bit of like a satin medium or a yeah, more of a satin medium. I'm going to use a little bit of Lamian medium, but that does mean that I actually want my paint to be thicker, because then when I use the medium in my brush, it's going to thin it out a little bit. Now, what I don't want to do is then create streakiness. So this is going to be an interesting element there, covering up there. I'm just going to do this really quickly. Being such a large element, it'll be fine. Now, I am painting dark on dark, which is a little bit harder to see, but hopefully you get the idea, and I will be able to go to a lighter color. Now, coming from the back end, we're pretty much going to do the same thing and repeat it going the other way. Now, that may not be accurate. We'll be able to fix that up a little bit. But I just want to get the main idea down. And painting fast and loose like this, even though I feel like I've focused a lot on a lot of other areas, this is such a big element that I almost feel like I'm starting again. And I just want to make sure that I'm getting an idea of where it's going. Just going to quickly run the edge of my brush along there. Again, I'm using quite a large brush, size 4. I'm moving the model around pretty quickly, but I'm not going back and touching the same areas over and over, mostly because I do not want to build up texture. So as the paint is drying, if you touch it too early, it's going to rip all that paint up. Now, I, in the past, have had big problems with that, whether it's just not being patient enough with the paint. That's probably my main fault. But also, something's not working, people tend to panic. I definitely used to. I still do from time to time, particularly like as an example on this model itself. I was working on these cast shadows in here and under here. As you can see under there, I've actually kind of reinstated what was previously there for the most part. And that is because, quite frankly, I wasn't happy with it. I used too dark of a color, too much of a drop. Trying to add this in here, it was much easier to have a more subtle shadow in there, and I went too dark. Whereas if you look at the beard, it's a little bit harsher compared to what's coming through here. It still gets the effect off, but it also shows that there's a little bit of distance between the chest and here, whereas this shadow here is a very hard cut. So at least that's the way that I've been trying to work it. I've been trying to learn more about my shadows, my light, and that's what we're doing with our paint. We are replicating that shadow. So I'm going to quickly go up to a brighter color now. This is just the straight silver gray, and you can see there's quite a difference there. Now I still want to cover the majority of that surface area, and I'm doing so very quickly, but I'm also trying not to completely cover the same area. It's okay if I do. And the main thing that I'm going for is a very quick transition from dark to light. Now, this here will have some secondary reflections in the middle, which we kind of will do later. At the moment, I think just trying to establish my initial lights, where things are sitting, not wanting to hinder myself in my thought process. Just making sure that's focused on the model. At the moment, yeah, I find non-metallic metal difficult, but it is a study of the light. A lot of people struggle with it. I still do. I struggle with everything. I struggle with skin tones, trying to get that right, and often end up doing things multiple times. But we're just here to have fun, aren't we? And that's what I want to achieve with my miniature painting, to have fun. I want to go to competitions, not because I think I'm going to win, but for the social aspect, to show off the cool stuff that I did and see everyone else's cool stuff. I think that's the point of it, right? It's a hobby. I enjoy it. Just going to sketch in a little bit more. I think broaden out some of the other areas that I've done. Connect up. Maybe I shouldn't have connected that up, but that's okay. I'm I probably want to do a bounce light into there later. Now, how much of this is actually working? Who knows? The main thing with non-metallic metal is it looks ugly until it doesn't. Now I'm only going through 2 colors here. Typically, I'm going to be going up through darkest, cold, mid, in-betweens, and then going to the warmer colors, and then you're going to the bright highlights. Takes a little bit of time. I'm just trying to make sure that this is coming out well. I'm getting good coverage in between each layer. The first layer was quite easy and quick to put down. If I'm being honest, the dark sea blue that I was using covers really well, whereas this silver grey on its own doesn't as much, but I also don't want to go on too heavy because then I'm going to just end up with thick paint, which, you know, it's all well and good. It's what we want when we're doing things quickly, but there's a limit. I don't want to be doing 10 layers. I want to be doing 2 at most. I'm not doing the stereotype. I'm just doing to make sure that I have good coverage and I can build on that. See, it's getting a bit thin and I'm got probably too much moisture in my brush. There's definitely too much moisture in that paint. But if I am going to do... See, at least on my thumb, I'm still getting decent lines. And it's going to be covering pretty well. It's going to have to be a fair bit of refinement here. I'm not so good at refining things. I think that's okay. One of these days I'll fall in love with a model so much that I will spend hours and hours and hours on it. I did that with a couple of models where I felt like I was learning, but I also felt like I needed to be perfect. And that's just not ideal. You know, sometimes, I don't know. There are so many times I feel like I paint a model and it takes me so long to paint it because I want it to be perfect. That's fine. But it also stops you from practicing on new models. So having multiple on the go is a decent approach. Bit of a chunky line, but I don't mind it. Probably want to dark there and actually move this down a bit there. Make that bigger. The thing I'd learnt getting feedback was, you know, I was making my non-metallics, you know, razor thin. All my lines were razor thin and it didn't work. Even if it's the larger areas, make them wider than you think, and you can always bring them back. It's an idea. I don't know if it's going to work. Let's get some... I think I've missed this section. It's got a little bit too much moisture. Probably shouldn't be touching the model with my oily hands. Get some bounce lights in there. Now, there's a couple of classes coming up at the Guild's Inn, which I'm really looking forward to. As I said, I've really been struggling with skin tones, and I've been wanting to take some more classes. Last year, I got to take quite a few, which was really good. So I didn't find the Melbourne painters community until end of 2023, and I turned up to the painting session right before Crimson Brush, and went to my first Crimson Brush in 2024, and absolutely loved it. And then took my first class with Will Brightly. He was over from the UK. And I feel like I learnt quite a lot there. That's where I ended up meeting a lot more of the Melbourne painting community, and being able to have a chat and everything with them. I think, other than Crimson Brush, that might have been my first time meeting a few people from the Melbourne painters community at that painting class. And I think I've made some enduring friends from there, people that I like to chat with online. And then I signed up and was able to do a class, more of an intro class. That's kind of what I needed, just to get some practice in. And that was with Meg Maples, which I was over the course of 2024. I was able to take a number of smaller classes with Meg Maples, but it was the bigger 2-day class. Really enjoyed that. Painting a nice elven archer before Guild's Inn last year. I did take that up to Sydney with me, but unfortunately I dropped it and broke the bow, so I couldn't enter it. That's fine. I was a little disappointed with myself, but my main entry got in and did okay in standard, which, standard. So I'm very happy with my result. And then I took a class with Thibaut Ram. That was a really good class. Like, that was immediately after Guild's Inn. That was a very good class. It's the first class that I think I realized, if you want to shadow somewhere, put it there. If you want more interest in your non-metallics, put another color in there. So at the moment, I've got kind of a set formula, which is probably not ideal, a bit boring, but I can always glaze things in. Whereas taking that approach where things were starting from a more interesting color, and you can put things in, and it was about placement of the light. At the moment, I'm still sort of set on my formulas for certain things. I need to move away from that. That's definitely true. I would like to learn to use things a little bit better, have more of a go at different. Actually, I was talking to a friend of mine last night. So last night I attended a book club, but one of my painting friends was there, and got to have a chat with him about, part of the hobby is experimenting with new products, new paints. That's part of the fun. It's part of the joy. And, we were talking about different ranges we don't like anymore, things we can't gel with. Yeah. And through those classes that I took last year, meeting a lot of different people and learning new things, also got to just try out new things, different approaches to things. There's a lot of working through thought processes and then trying out someone else's way. So attending a couple of those classes, so particularly the one with Will Brightly and Thibaut Ram, we had some of the top painters from Melbourne attend those classes, or the second day of those classes, or help organize them themselves. So I don't want to necessarily name drop unless they happen to turn up and say hello, but they're not going to join my stream, not anytime soon, I don't think. But it was just nice to see them. And I was talking to, if you've got the chance to learn from another painter, forget what you've been working on, or the way you approach things necessarily. Try and paint the way they do. And I thought that was really interesting, the way that he described he would take that approach. He would completely forget the way that he liked to paint, the way he liked to refine things, and try and follow that other person's approach completely. And so that was really evident, I think, in Thibaut's class. Yeah, seeing someone completely just try and for a couple of days forget the way that they paint. They're already like they themselves are already a top class painter, and try and forget the way that they paint and follow someone else's method completely. As a learning tool, I thought that was fascinating. That no matter what, no matter how much you learn, no matter how good you are, you can always learn more. And there are some of the guys from Sydney. We've got a very large collection of really good painters in Sydney. They've been kind of coming out of the woodworks, and it's really nice to talk to those guys when I get the chance. I'm a bit of an awkward turtle at times, but I get to chat with them, ask them for feedback every now and then when I get the chance at events, and some of them organize those events. But I guess for me, that was one of the benefits of helping with ARC, helping run the event. It was a good experience to see it from the other side, helping out. But when it came to seeing some of those pieces and seeing them judged, I feel like I learn a lot just by, I guess, having closer access to all of these things. Yeah, a lot of the guys from Sydney came down. Some of the best works that I've seen them do lately. Took a couple of classes, a couple of little workshops, little sessions through there, and it was quite it was a really, really fun experience as well. I think just being able to hang out with people, talk to them about things, talk to them about their approach, meeting them before they become famous, like some people. My last trip to Canberra, I got to meet Alexi, and it was really nice to talk to him. Didn't get a huge chance to talk to him very much, and then he got best in show. So, I mean, very good work on him. And then he started to he tried to have a go at a couple of streams. I think he's still doing that, but he's been traveling a lot. So he took some time to really focus and hone his craft, which I thought was a really great idea, a really great opportunity. But hey, you win best in show, and then you get to show off a lot of your work. And he's a very good painter. He's incredible. There's a lot of guys at the moment that are starting to put out, really are putting out their best work, and they've always been way better than me. I'm not gonna deny that. I don't think I'm close to those guys, quite frankly. But it's nice to be in the conversation of just hanging out, seeing the mindset, and yeah, learning when you can. So now I'm about at the mid-tone of where I want these lights to be. This being such a large object, I can't jump too high. I feel like I also don't want it to, like, I'm probably going to glaze over the dark spots and just reinstate smaller bits and make it so it looks like it's partly tinted across the whole lot. The thing with metal, again, if we're looking at our references, let's see if I can bring this back up. Whoop. Or did I close it? Of course, I closed it, didn't I? No, I closed it. There you go. It's, hey, from Sydney. There you go. How are you? I was talking about, I'm just working on the non-metallic metal, metallic metal, and trying to do such a large element. And if you've got such focused areas, trying to keep them large, it's, you know, a much more refined metal. Whereas if it's broader, less shiny, we're looking at things that are, you know, a little bit more of beaten metal. So I think once I've got the main lights in, I'll end up glazing in and bringing down some of the darker spots so they're tinted. Because this is meant to be look a little bit more like it's a little bit more beaten, right? And at least for the bounce lights, when I get up to doing those, going from there. Tip top, you working on anything tonight, or are you hobbying, lurking, listening to me prattle on? Probably just listening to me, yeah, just talking through. I'm trying to voice my thought processes a little bit more, going through. I was saying earlier, really enjoying this piece so far. Hoping my voice isn't cutting out either, but I'm still going up through non-metallic. You know, I'll do what I can, see if I like it, probably do a bunch of changes, and then I'll have to do a bunch of bounce lights, see if it even works. Probably end up repainting it a couple of times. That's okay. That's how we practice and how we learn. This is definitely a learning piece for me. I would like it to be something that I could enter. Black Templar. I've never painted Black Templar. Black scares me. I admittedly haven't been doing as much. I suppose I have still been doing some wargaming, but I've been trying out alternate games. I've been getting back into Old World recently, but yeah, 40k I dabbled in and dropped in and out of pretty consistently. It happened, you know. I mean, it was the first game I ever played or got into in terms of a hobby, but then, yeah, I think once I was in, you know, of a certain age, I definitely was a fantasy player. And then when I was getting back into the hobby, I was skirmish gaming, little mini war games. And then, yeah, just painting. Loved painting. And wanted to get better at it and improve. So at least try to. I think I'm probably over thinning this with medium, but I'm still going very large, still very sketchy, I'm still using a size 4 brush just because this is such a big pauldron. And let's hope it works, to be honest. I sound so confident as a painter. There's definitely some things that I struggle with. Smaller things, swords. I mean, that buckle could probably use some improvement, but a big pauldron like this, contrast. There's nothing wrong with using contrast. Absolutely nothing wrong with using contrast. Definitely when I'm doing, you know, multiple projects, as in multiple models in a project, um, I do use contrast paints to give me a an easy non-metallic gold. It's some like Nasdaq yellow, fantastic paint for just got a little a little bit of shading already. Throw Nasdaq yellow on there, you've got non-metallic gold, and you can touch it up and put those little sparkles on it, and it looks great on the tabletop. Um, there's quite a few things where I love some of the colors, and you can use them for shading, and you can use all kinds of things like speed paints, contrast paints, inks. Although I've moved away from inks, only because I had some issues using some Liquitex inks. But yeah, nothing wrong with a good contrast paint. They're very useful tools. There are a lot of people that use them in different ways. I think for me on this particular project, so on this particular project, for the skin tones, focus on the model. Focus on the model. There we go. I tried to do something different. Tried to push the high and the low of the skin tones, but then to really put some warmth in there and add in some purples and different things. Yeah, speed paints. Just really, really thin down speed paints, very subtle going in there. Works really well. Definitely use some sort of ink or contrast. Once I've got like really bright metallics in there, I want to add some interest. They're going to bounce more light or more environmental light from different angles. Yeah, they can be used for many different things. I know for so I'm a one of my main games recently has been Conquest, and for my army, a lot of it's metallic, a lot of quick skin tones, and those skin tones are really easy with an ivory and using some. I think I was using either Fire Slayer flesh or Gilliman flesh. I think Gilliman flesh is one of the main ones I was using. And then for all their capes and the actual main army color, just using I was using Achillean green in the shadows. No, Achillean green over the top, and Pterodon turquoise as the main color, or the other way around. I always get it wrong. Yeah, really nice teal capes. Very happy to find and figure that recipe out a bit. I'm just going to try and broaden these and put in a little bit extra darks. I feel like I've gone over it with just the plain gray a little bit too much. Again, I'm still being very, very rough. But I do feel like that's kind of the point. We realize how big it's meant to be, and then we can come in and even go over part of what we were previously working on. So admittedly, this is probably something I do too much, is I'll go back. I definitely don't need that actually. Is in my mind, I want to start refining something too early, or I want to make sure that it's right before I come back. I should really go straight all the way to the highest point before I start coming back and correcting where my placements are. At the same time, I like to meddle. I like meddling with my own work, even if it's subtle little things. Because at the moment, I'm realizing that these areas that I've blocked in are definitely the dark areas are too big. I want to spread these out more, be far more diffuse light. Yeah. I don't know. We always play things out. But yeah. Well, tip top. I'm not sure if you're in Sydney, but I'm not sure if you've been to the Sydney Display Guild, Display Painters Guild, Sydney SDP. I'm never going to get it right. SDG. No, PG. Oh, I'm terrible. The Sydney Guild. It's a group that meets up. Good bunch of blokes. I think they're meeting this Sunday. I think that is their meetup. Typically meet in Artarmon, which, being from Sydney myself, I know is not the most convenient in the world. But there are a bunch of good highways in Sydney now. At least the M4 works. Last year, yeah. Tip Top Baker. Are you on any of the forums? On the Discords? It's forums. Oh, I feel like I'm... Yeah, no comment on my own thing. Yeah, no. Yeah, Guild's In is coming up in 5 weeks. The guilds are meeting up at the end of every month. Pretty much, the Sydney Display Painters Guild and the Melbourne Figure Painters Collective have their meetups virtually on the same day, last Sunday of every month. So we usually end up sharing photos and having a look at each other's. Well, at least I look at both Instagram pages, which is, yeah. And then there's a few Discords that are kind of joint groups. Yep. Will you be there? Are you going? I've got my flights booked. I will be there. I'm really looking forward to it. Last year was the first time I went, and it was amazing, so fun. Yeah, after attending last year and going to Crimson that year as well, I said to myself, those will be the two events that I will go to all the time. Because I have family in Sydney, I'm at least traveling in between. And going to Canberra, I go to CanCon, play some games, go to the painting competition, talk shop. Guilds was another experience entirely. It was so much fun. Meeting everyone and seeing some of the work. This was really inspiring. I think after Guilds last year, I left the event and I had such an endorphin hit because it was such a good event, and then it felt like I was just coming down from that experience. Yeah, just chatting to people, seeing all the work, incredible. Where am I going? Where am I going with this? Don't want to go too warm, too fast, but I do want to go up to basically an ivory or a vanilla white. Sorry, I think I'm actually holding that in the middle of the chat. I apologize. I'm trying to think. Hang on. Now, when you get stuck or you're working on something and you can always refer back to good old recipes, at least my old recipes, just so that I know I'm not doing something too out there. In a way, you kind of want to learn to do things intuitively, but I struggle at times to remember or have something work properly. I always look up, hey, I go look up a Vince Venturella video, or I go look up other people's pieces to get inspired. Yeah, yeah. Get inspired. I mean, being in Sydney, like I was saying earlier, probably to myself, but um, ha- there's a lot of really good painters that turn up to the Sydney session. So you got so many different perspectives, and I think that's really really valuable. Um, the Melbourne meetup, we have a very large mix of people. There, anything from you know we have some first time painters come, but then we do have some of the top painters, and they come along, and it's not necessarily the environment that they want to paint in. So they come along and they show off some models, and then we have chats and discussions and feedback and things like that. But sometimes it's you know not everyone can make it every single session, and that's fine. We have the two people that run ours um, turn up pretty regularly and help everybody out and talk to everyone, and they work on things themselves. Um, yeah, it's they've built a really good environment. I know one of the guys that helped start it has actually moved to Brisbane, and someone else took over as kind of like the two people heading it off, and really active in the Melbourne painting community. I don't want to go there. How about I'm gonna try and work up. So now that I'm going past my mid-tone, which is neutral grey, try and work up a dark ivory to a full ivory. I'm using a very warm light on this guy. Yeah, you can't see it. It's focusing on the bottles, which is not a bad idea. Um, yeah, I look at some of the just some of the work that that's currently coming out from a lot of the Australian painters, but even the globally, just so much cool stuff. Um, about that, I think that's a warmer ivory. I picked this one up recently because I have a fascination with skin sets. I don't know why. I've got so many different skin sets, and I'm trying to find the recipes and the things I like to work with. But this one I quite liked. A little bit warmer. Feels less like it has a ton of white in it, like AK ones. I don't know. I'm just trying out different things, finding the paints that I like. So, all right, let's give this a go. See if it works. Thanks, Grogu, for the follow. Got plenty of neutral grey on my palette. Put some. Now, one thing it's probably really noisy. I'm sorry. I quite frankly hate shaking. You just like to see yeah. It's worth it. It's worth making the trip anyway. Like just rocking up. Yeah, this year admittedly I've never been to the Cremorne Community Centre. Um, I grew up southwest of Parramatta, so I never went north. Just barely ever went north, basically. Um, and then a lot of things for work. I'd have to stay up there, and a lot of my industries, a lot of it's in around that area near Macquarie Park, as well as anyway. And now I've had to kind of get used to it. But Cremorne, oh no, wait, not Cremorne. Cremorne's Neutral Bay. Crow's Nest. It's Crow's Nest. Silly me. Sorry. Um, I used to work in Cremorne. That's why it came to my mind. Um, yeah, never been to Crow's Nest Community Centre. There used to be a gaming event at a tech high school around that area ish. And I remember going to that a couple of times. But that's and I did some contract work in Warringah, something like that. I don't know. It was really expensive and they were rich and I was working my way through uni. So yeah. So I don't know. It's going to be a bit of a different space this year. Um, it'd be interesting to see. And I think it's going to be more open to the public. I think. At least. Anyway. Yeah. All right. Let's get a mid mix in there. Actually, that's quite a nice warm grey. I'm probably using a couple of extra steps than I need to, but let's just keep it going. Can refine later. Yeah, I did decide to jump in and I wanted to do a couple of sessions because last year I did a couple of the jam sessions. I did Denos and Buxes last year, just talking about, we talked about a lot of contrast, a lot of relativity. Um, Deno's big keyword was negative space last year. Loved that. I think that's more important when you're doing larger figures and when you're working on those kind of display pieces. It's always something to think about. I'm trying to get better at my compositions, but this year I've just been, I get very frustrated at times with when working on skin tones, because for me they don't work. Now I try something different, they don't work, and then eventually it's almost like brute forcing it until it looks okay, and then it kind of works, and it's kind of like, again, trying to do something a little bit more complicated, like non-metallic metal, or it looks bad until it doesn't. And for me, that's skin tones. And so I'm doing Jordan's class to do a bunch of Space Marine heads, I think we're painting. And then I'll be doing Siona's class. So Siona does some beautiful pieces. She's painted a lot of Ignis art pieces, which I've really enjoyed. She does like little modifications on them. But yeah, I quite enjoy her work as well. And it's about trying to put that lifelike feeling into the skin, having those natural colors. And I think for me, I need the help. I need work. You can follow so many online tutorials, but when you're just struggling to get those skin tones working for you, especially odd skin tones, when you got like greens and things in there, like it almost doesn't compute for me. And I want to push it. I want to do weird things. I want to try different things. That's definitely too thick. Too thick of a line. I think I need to focus that. Although I want it to be about that big. So I'll leave that until it dries and I'll go over it again. I'll muck that up. And I think this is working better actually. So I have previously tried to stream and I've had like a cutting mat in front of me. And the problem was the camera kept focusing on the cutting mat, not the model. And I think this is working a lot better. I mean, if I drop paint or anything, it's going straight on my desk mat, but whatever. So only $20 from JB Hi-Fi. I need more of a transition or something there. This does feel a bit brighter than expected, but sorry, it's a bit out of focus there, but I was just saying it was focusing better and it's gone all blurry. Like, it's got the contrast, but it's not quite right. I think that's wrong. There should be dark in there. Anyway, I'll keep going. Trying to figure it out. Always trying to figure it out when it comes to non-metallics, skin tones. Just working through it. Yeah, I was still not sure. Like, I've really liked how working on this piece. It's, you know, it's not a display piece. I mean, when I'm done, if I like it, I might enter it. But all in all, I don't think it doesn't stand out in terms of the presence of the model. You know, you got to think about these things. But at the same time, I'm not in it to win it. I'm in it to just to enter and see where I sit. Entering into a new level for me, it's kind of an achievement already, I think. Kind of expect to walk away with nothing, but that's also the point that I want to drive home to myself, is just have fun. Play a little bit. I think after Guild's in, I'm going to work on my Old World army. Just airbrush the hell out of it to start and then go from there. At the moment, I feel like I'm coming out a little bit more Spanish style on that, which is not a bad thing. The model itself was designed by a Spanish dude, Angel Giraldez. Just going to try and define some cracks and things just to see how I like the look of it. Hopefully my head's not... Oop, I'm way out of frame there. I remember about there. Okay. Gotta get used to framing myself better. Definitely going to be some things in there. But I almost want to mix a little bit of ivory with my dark sea blue to get a slightly different grey colour. Go in there. So instead of using a blue grey, I'm going to use a green grey. See what that looks like. Has more of a bounce, light. I don't know. Does it work? Don't know. Definitely more in there. I think I need to separate a little bit more there. Yeah, I don't know. Bit of mucking around, hey? I think once you sort of add in a little bit of separation there, it might work a bit better. I mean, that's probably a little bit too straight, and that's sitting refined too much, so I'll blend that down a bit. We're just playing. Just play. Yeah. Kind of enjoying it. A little bit of fun. I don't know. Yeah. Well, I'll just take half a second. I'm going to grab a couple of things. So, I'm back. Yeah, just take a second, reevaluate. But while I'm doing that, push that off to the side. I'll show. Thought I'd talk about a couple of things that I'm planning on entering at guilds. So if you see me, say hello. So that's the latest one. Making sure that's in focus. That one was a bit of fun. That one was a fun piece. Probably a couple of things I could correct before I go, but at the same time, yeah, I try to do something like really funny with the jacket just to make it really stand out. Probably doesn't work like it should, but I think it stands out. Looks cool. Also, probably one of the first times that I've worked on a model where, so this was meant to be a really cyberpunk heavy model. And it had little bits on its face and its stomach and chest and everything. And it was actually quite, I started painting it and I found it really challenging because those elements were getting in the way of what I wanted to focus on, which was the skin tones. So I ended up stripping it using putty and filling in all of the like cyberpunky bits in the stomach and chest and sanding the face a lot to try and smooth it out. You can probably you can still sort of see some pock marks on the cheek, but you know, and then yeah, it's just a bit of fun. So I like that one. It looks a bit flat. It was fun to work on. I don't expect that to get anything, but you know, yeah, thanks. Yeah, I don't post very often, but I'm trying to get better at it. And then yeah, the other one is that one, which I like this one. Like it's something that I was inspired by a Marco Frazzoni, just a random YouTube video. It's not this piece, but he was working on something else, and I thought, yeah, I want to use that idea. And he had this idea of having this warm light coming in, and then everything on the back being really cold. And I just I liked the idea, and I thought it would work on this piece. And you know, I struggled through a fair bit of it, and there was definitely I entered this into Crimson, and it didn't feel right, and I got smashed. I entered into Standard, and the judges hammered me because the light was all wrong. It needed to be darker down here. The non-metallic metal was all wrong, and the light was all wrong. But I got some feedback from Eric Swinson and his Feedback Fridays, and the small things that I got feedback on were very actionable, very simple steps to just make changes. And yeah, definitely the non-metallic metal is a huge improvement, and the light and the drop off as well as the Terminator, like actually focusing on the light, I think just those small actionable things that really helped elevate it. Now it's not perfect, there's definitely things I could improve on. I'm actually very happy with how it came out, and it's a step forward. So yeah, just working on things and trying to improve. But yeah, I also don't want to stress about it too much, because if I do that, then I won't paint anything, right? So um, yeah, and I think that's one thing that the Sydney Display Painters Guild, I think they kind of give each other mini classes during the guild sessions. Um, we don't really have that. I think they tried to do a couple of jam sessions, or maybe I missed them at the time. But yeah, we tend to meet up and socialize a fair bit. Um, for the Melbourne one, I think I'm going too thin too soon. I'm gonna need to widen these out. Do you post anything on Instagram, Top? You're more keep like in the hobby and forums. I know I definitely don't post on Instagram as much, and trying to get a little bit better at that. It's more, it's gone from being a personal Instagram to I just post things when I go to painting events. Um, that's kind of the main hobby and thing that I do. I use Instagram to browse and um, just watch other people's pieces. And sometimes it's really interesting to see everyone's work and things people are working on, which is really fun. But I'm trying to get better at posting more often, or more than just going to events, more like yeah, let's widen these out a bit. Um, do you post anything on there, or you just keep it to more personal? I think everyone's uses it for different things, and I know I see a lot of. Oh yeah, no, feel free, feel free. Um, I won't show it on stream if unless you want me to, but I'll open it up and have a look. I won't necessarily show it, but if you want, if it's okay with you, I will. I think that's consent is important. um, but yeah, no, feel free to post the link. That's fine. Hmm. Now I'll double check because I'm still getting used to like the modding queues and the automatic mods that these things have, but it shouldn't get blocked. But I've got a queue that I can keep in there, but it shouldn't block anything. But I'll keep an eye out for it. Sorry, I'm off stream. I was just looking at my thing a little bit closer. Oh, didn't log me in. Hang on. I got to log in to Instagram. All right. Whoa. Dude. I don't have that patience. Like I've painted a few armies and a few that I've given up on, but wow. It's an Imperial Guard. I don't know how you do it. Bretonia? Oh, and you did them all separate heraldry as well. Oops, that's showing on stream. Sorry. I did not ask permission to do that. That shouldn't have come up. I've got this thing where, okay. Sorry, I am gonna close your Instagram for a second so I can see if this works. Okay, so this is my feed that's showing. Right. That's correct. It's meant to just pick up my Chrome browser, but occasionally it just will stop showing it or it won't show it correctly. I did not mean to show that, and I did not know it was showing on stream. I apologize. If you're okay with it being shown on stream, thank you. I get to have a look on stream. But yeah, if you didn't want that on stream, I apologize. Cool. Yeah. I think everyone's work like, is that a huge Grey Knights army? Wow. Oh, that's cool. Dark Elves. That's a huge army. Are they all they look like they're all are they all the old metal Dark Elf models? I mean, the repeater crossbows definitely are, because I think they only ever came in that one style. Damn, that's a huge collection of, like, for the Dark Elves. I think the Execution is in there in the back right. Tons of Cold One Knights. Oh, that's awesome. Orcs and Goblins. Hi, Grogu. I am good. Today I'm just working on this bust. So I've been working on the non-metallic metal today, just sketching it in. I don't know, a lot of that's too bright, but just working on it, just playing around, trying to figure it out. Yeah, I think painting's a really good pastime. Sometimes it feels like it's difficult to sit down and paint, and part of the thing of reasons why I started streaming is because I was watching other people stream. Like, I was watching stream replays, and yeah, I thought, no, you know what? Why not? I want to give it a go, meet some new people, get some motivation, um, things like that. So at the moment, I'm painting this. I started painting this because I really wanted to practice the skin tones, right? I struggle with skin tones, and I just want to really push myself and do something different. This one, whether I finish it, and I'm taking it to the Guild's Inn coming up. Well, sorry, whether I take this to the Guild's Inn or not, I'm gonna check in with some people at the Melbourne meetup this this Sunday. Just be like, hey, sense check. Do you think I've nailed it enough? Because this one it's kind of an academic piece, but it's also very large in comparison. Like I've got another academic here, so this is an academic. It's small in comparison. So it's quite large. So this is just one of the things that I'm working on at the moment. And yeah, I've been working on the hair, and I think I painted the hair 2 or 3 times, twice fully, but changed the tones and things a little bit, trying to put a little bit of ginger into his beard. I need to work on the bone and his necklace. But yeah, just this is a model called Recnor from Angel Giraldez, which I just thought it was cool. It's not my norm, something different, and it's been fun. It's a fun piece. I tend to hop from busts to 75mm models, at least in my display pieces. I do paint, hobby models and Kingdom Death a little bit. Like I got into Kingdom Death end of last year, and I'm playing through a campaign, but I want to paint the models as I come up against the bosses, and it's just like quick paint jobs. But yeah, I've painted a couple of armies. I'm starting an old world army, so yeah, a few different projects on the go at the moment. But yeah, I've been working on this one primarily. The other day I was kind of bored. Had this earlier on stream. I was kind of bored and just wanted to do a quick, easy paint job. So I was working on this. This is a base. Yet to actually paint any. They are fun. Look, they are fun. Some of them a bit odd, I'll admit. Yeah. So I just felt like working on the base for this one. This is for another this is for a 75mm piece. Vampire, but she's going to be like kind of a royal vampire. That's the base. I've started it, put in the main colors, given it a go. A few things worked. I think the cracks came out really good. Some of the definition. I want to put in some moss effects. I'm going to use some dirty down moss. Never used it before. Give it a go. Why not? And I want to fix up the blood in there, make it look more oxidized, and then put some more color, interesting things in there. And I'll quickly grab the model that's going to sit on top of that, but it's very early. All right. So much has changed. Well, I'm a very new streamer, but that will stand on that when it's done. I've only worked on the skin tones. It's very sketchy at the moment. There's a whole arm with a sword in it. So yeah, very sketchy at the moment. Definitely some extra light placements and things. Needs to go much brighter. It's very, very just started. Haven't worked on it too much. There's a lot of I've only just recently sort of been inspired for the colors for all of the cloth and a method that I'm going to use. So I'm going to actually mask up as much of the skin as possible, and basically try and airbrush like all the cloth and then go from there. But yeah, my initial plan with this one did not go correctly. This is the second time I've painted the skin, again, sketching. The first time, it just didn't work. The colors I was using just didn't work whatsoever. So that'll be my next one that I mainly focus on. But I just felt like working on the base, and then they'll integrate together and things like that. So I'm going to put these ones back. And in case you're wondering, I use sandwich bags to make sure there's no dust on my display pieces, because otherwise just texture. Yeah, there's always room to improve. I definitely think like I struggle with skin. I'm very happy. Focus. I'm very happy with how this turned out. It is a more cartoony style. Um, most of the other skin I've done, I feel like I get there by brute force. I just have to keep trying. Like this particular one took me forever. I've repainted the skin. Focus. I've repainted the skin so many times. Um, by the time I was done, like I think I'd smoothed out some of the texture, but it was very, very textured. It was quite a struggle, to be honest. Um, but I am happy with how it came out. It's not, top level display piece or anything, but I think it's interesting. I think it's cool. It I think people like it, but it's not like a top level competition piece. I'm not there yet. Yeah, but I'm just happy with like two different takes on skin, and I think going for a more warmer sunny skin, more cartoony look. This one probably still a little bit cartoony, but I wanted to go for that. Like my initial inspiration for this one was like a cyberpunk Harley Quinn, and I definitely ventured away from that, but it's kind of cool. It was a very fun piece, very, very fun piece to work on. So, Pixie, you picking up a brush these days, or tire palette is desaturated? Oh, I think some of these things that you've seen that I've just shown, I've been using a much more saturated palette, and that's because I was forcing myself to do so. So many things that I was painting in the past, I felt they didn't hit the way I wanted to. They were too dark. Everything was too dark. Nothing had brightness. Not enough contrast. Like everyone says that. Like everyone struggles with contrast initially, but just even if I had something that looked really cool, it didn't pop. It didn't have that standout factor. And so I have been painting a little bit more cartoony, more bright, more rather than being artsy and moody. I've only recently been pushing to that, and I always want to do something that's just different styles. Um, I don't know if I have a style, to be honest. I don't know if I do. Just trying different things. Okay. Where are we? Probably do another coat of the dark ivory. I think I need to start focusing the edges a bit. Oh no. See? But I know you can't see that, but there's hair in my brush. Don't want that on my model. Quite frankly. I'm still staying big, staying sketchy, but I'm trying to just bring it in a little bit. And I do not know if this is going to work by the end. Honestly, I think this is something that I might submit for feedback, just to be like, hey, my non-metallic metal sucks. What can you do? What should I change? Where's the light gone wrong on this? Actually, I think that should probably come across here. All right, let's do that. Yeah. There's nothing worse than trying to pick out a brush hair. Well, not even a brush hair, just a little hair that's somehow got stuck in the brush. So, like from a paper towel or something like that. It's just drives you nuts. And I know, yeah, I've learned a few habits from people like from the guild meetups and things, where that's why they all do the sandwich bags. They've all learnt from some of the top painters, being like, "Yep, sandwich bags. Dust drives me crazy. Sandwich bags in between sessions to block all dust." I think that's probably the smartest tip that I've taken on board. Except it was a bit weird. Had some friends come over, and they came in and they wanted to have a look, and they're like, "What's with all the sandwich bags?" So I have all these sandwich bags covering like most of my work, for my in progress pieces and things that I'm working on. So all right. All right, let's keep going fast and loose here. This is me probably trying to correct things too early. But I don't like the placement of that, so I want to bring it forward a little bit. Actually, I want to make sure that's dry before I touch it again. Oops, that is way too runny. Yeah. It's been a little bit of a fun experiment. I think I know where I'm kind of going with it a little. I don't know. I feel like I'm always trying to just figure it out and definitely make my non-metallic metals wider than I think they should be. Otherwise, you end up with too many lasers, too many hyper-focused areas. Oops, so I've been way out of focus there. Oh, way out of frame as well. It's probably going to be a fair bit of work if I want to get this anywhere near something smooth, but yeah, I don't know. Don't know if that reads properly. I think it doesn't look too bad on camera. I mean, it's rough. It's still rough, but no, it's fun. But, I'll probably continue a little bit more. I'm looking forward to the meetup on Sunday. So we have a local meetup, and I know there's a couple of people here from Australia. We have a local guild meetup, which they're very social events. Some painting gets done. People are also using them as opportunities to play games with other members of the painting community. So small couple of people playing Old World, and I'm trying to focus on sort of display painting until after guilds, and then I'm going to work on some Old World. I've pretty much recently finished a Conquest army, although I've been playing Conquest for a couple of years, and yeah, and lately again, Kingdom Death is just something I dabble in. You know, I want to use painted minis every time I play, and so far I've got the starting 4 characters and 3 monsters or enemies. So the 2 first ones, and then I'm about to go in and face the butcher, which I'm told is a, you know, the butcher ambushes you or something in the story. I'm told it's a very bad idea because you can't avoid it, but expect to get smashed. So we'll wait and see. I haven't played it yet. I've been haven't really sat down to play it recently, so that'll have to be something to change after guilds, I think. I mean, really, if I just don't feel like painting, I can do that instead. But let's bring more grey into this and try not to introduce too much texture. So I'm not working on the most interesting colors, but something different. Yeah, I think that looks cool. So at the moment, I'm going a bit slower because I'm not happy with the placement of where I quickly put in things. I've gone bright enough, not to the highest level where I need to go on similar to this. I need to go brighter, but I also don't want this look of lasers across the panel. So I don't want, this is meant to be more of a beaten metal, so the focus of that non-metallic will get much wider. And because I'm using a frontal light coming in from this direction, straight down, that should be much wider and probably a little bit dark, like a little bit of dark spot there, but I don't know. This is my brain thinking, but not being able to execute it in a way. So it'll probably take me a little while of pushing it a lot, trying to get my head around it, and then realizing it's not going to work. And you know what? Probably end up repainting the entire pauldron, because that's what I do. I repaint parts that I just get sick of. Hopefully, if I haven't, you know, mucked up too much of it. That paint is thinning on the palette quite a lot. So I'm going to get some more out so I can thicken it back up. So I'm just using a neutral grey. Which, you know, again, not the most interesting colors, but all right. Let's go wide. There we go. That's a bit wider. Get in there. Yeah. And I think for me, this is a recipe that I quite like because it has a quick step up. You can go. You can do a quick version. Good. Thanks to Tip Top. Thanks for joining in. I'll see you next time. Um, Actually, I've just realized it's 10 o'clock. So which, and I think I'm hitting the limit of what I'm going to achieve tonight. It's not perfect. It's very rough. I'm just throwing things in. I think I need to add in darks, make that wider. I think the back needs a lot of work. That I'm actually okay with. Probably bring it down to about there. And then from here on will actually be the bright. Oh, it's 1 p.m. Yeah, no, sorry, it's 10 p.m. where I am. And I still have work tomorrow. So yeah, there's that 9-hour difference. So very clearly European somewhere. Yeah. UK. Oh, Scotland. Perfect. I've always wanted to go to Scotland. I've always wanted to go to Scotland. I mean, I've only been to London, and like I've been around other areas of Europe, but yeah, the UK is one that I've not explored a lot of. Scotland, I reckon I'd love, particularly because I love whiskey, love Scotch. um, Scotland's entirely different. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Whiskey tour. Um, yeah, good peated Islay whiskey, or yeah, something like that. But then, for me, particularly or for anyone, Isle of Harris. Okay, have to look that up. Mention that in the next travel plan or the next trip over towards that area. I think if we end up doing a trip to over to Scotland, probably do like the things. I think feel like it's such a long trip that we'd have to. Yeah, as long as it's sunny. Um, I feel like if we do a trip that long, because for us it's in Australia, it's literally the other side of the world. Um, close to, and we would definitely want to do several weeks where we're looking at Scotland, Ireland. I've always wanted to go to Iceland as well. No, I know that's obviously, but it's about the closest we're ever going to get to going to Iceland. Um, you know, one of these days I'll be able to just fog off my job for a year and then go traveling. I would love to just do that. But then by that time I'm probably going to be too old to do so. So we can always dream, I think. Yeah, a little bit better, a bit wider. So I'm just gonna rough in some larger planes, I think, and then just because I can always go back down, but I feel like I am working it too much, and I want to have it sitting right. Your old emojis for Scottish rubbed. I mean, if you're gonna pick a theme, why not, right? I mean, we for an Aussie, you go for the stereotypical. Oh yeah, just put kangaroos all over the stream, but you know, we don't exactly keep them as pets or as farm animals. They usually get hit by cars or box people. So do you used to stream? Yeah, they kind of are like, you'll have kangaroos and wallabies and things in zoos, or in wildlife protection preserves and things like that. But at the same time, if you are driving down the road in a country area at dusk, watch out because they will jump in front of your car. Um, so kangaroos will jump. They'll get stuck in the headlights, just like a deer in headlights. Kangaroos do the same thing, and they will flip over the front and crash through your windscreen and kick you in the face. Um, I've never had it happen, thankfully. I'm also more of a city dweller. Um, but the other one that I've always been worried about or feared of is when I first started going country driving was wombats. Those things are rock solid boulders. Yeah, I mean, if the kangaroo's got your dog, like, yeah. Um, it's funny that people want to actually stand up and try and box a kangaroo. Those things are pure muscle, particularly the big reds. They're massive. Um, but most kangaroos, they're fine. Just leave them alone. They're fine. Just leave them alone. Um, wombats as well. They are balls of muscle. Um, and if you hit one of those with your car, it's going under and ripping out the bottom of the car, basically. Luckily, I've never hit one of those, but um, that's something that scares me as well. Because I do drive out in the country every now and then, and usually most of the time they're on the side of the road. They're either roadkill or they're in a paddock, typically. They don't like trucks. They tend to run into trucks for some reason, but they are kind of vermin, sort of. There's more of them than you think. You just don't see them that often. Um, they don't. A lot of the locals have. Oh, that's one way to put it. I mean, we definitely have that too, but uh, it just depends. Depends on the area. Different areas of Australia as well have. When I was growing up, I thought everyone had the same accent. Turns out we don't. Apparently, you can tell the difference of people where they grow up, and even like just Sydney itself, east to west to north to south, like everyone has a different accent. Sydney's very, very separated. It also depends on like the groups that you hang out with. But then, yeah, I had no idea. First time I traveled overseas, someone could guess that we were from Sydney versus people that were from Melbourne. I'm like, wow, had no idea that we were that different. And then I went to South Australia for the first time, and they're very posh, um, nice people, very flat city. Um, yeah, I mean, everyone's afraid of Australia in terms of wildlife because of the spiders or the whatever. And like, yeah, we got some dangerous spiders, but you leave them alone and they leave you alone. It's fine. Like, I'm not a huge fan of spiders. And huntsmen's, like the big scary ones, they are harmless. It's the poisonous ones that are annoying. Just leave them alone. Just stay away from them. Leave them alone. You're fine. Totally different accent in Scotland. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's when you get to the areas where you got those really heavy accents, um, that almost become the stereotype of like you can't understand people, and what they're talking about, then you're like, oh, okay. But I mean, we have the same thing. You're from the yeah, 45 minutes away and you can't understand, and technically you're speaking the same language. All right, I am starting to lose focus and not sure what I'm doing. And I should probably make my way to bed soon, to be honest. Still got a work day tomorrow, but I think it's been good motivation. It's been a fun stream. So, hey, Mig back, coming in with a raid. Thanks, Mig back, for the raid. Appreciate that. I think, like you, I'm probably about to be logging off soon, but yeah, just for all those that have joined, I'm a miniature painter, well, hobbyist, based in Melbourne. So similar area in Australia, you know, I say similar, but far enough away. And at the moment, this is just what I'm working on. I'm not good at non-metallic metal or skin tones, but I'm working on it. So, and so that one may be going to Guilds in, maybe not. And I might as well spruik my work. Focus, focus. That's the other latest bust that I did. So again, not like, could be improved, but it was really fun. And yeah, I really like this one. I'm happy with how it turned out. Good at skin tones. It's more like brute force. Honestly, I think I repainted this one. My I think I repainted the skin tones on this one like 3 times. It was yeah, took me a long time, and yeah, it came together. And then the other one I worked on was that one, which took a couple of iterations, fair bit of work, some feedback, which I really needed feedback. So trying to improve, trying to get better. But yeah, I'll be taking these 2 to Guilds in. And if I get, and I'll be entering hoping to enter Masters for the first time. But if I get absolutely nothing, I'm still happy because I achieved something by entering Masters, I feel. Yeah, the Crimson stream. It felt finished at that time, but I knew it wasn't right. There was something wrong with it, and I didn't know what it was. And yeah, the feedback, the judging stream was a very quick acknowledgement that yeah, it was wrong. It needed work. It was wrong. There was light. There was no Terminator, and I'm just like, oh, I know it's wrong, but I don't know how. I wasn't sure how to fix it. Couple of things, actionable feedback, and I used Eric Swinson's Feedback Friday as well to get a couple of actionable things, and I was able to apply those pretty easily. So it's probably the first time like getting feedback and being actionable that I went back and changed it. So, and I'm really happy with it now. Yeah, still working on it and trying to improve. So thanks, Pantera. I appreciate it. This one, like, I just started because I wanted to work on skin tones. I wanted to really push my skin tones. You know, it looks cartoony, but it's kind of the point. Just do something different. It is what it is. Yeah. And at the moment, yeah, still just roughing in non-metallic metal, fiddling around. It's not quite right. It's not sitting where I want it. But yeah, that's all I was working on tonight. Off stream, I've been working on the hair and a bit of ginger in the beard and some bone bits and little bits and pieces. Yeah. So working on that, working towards Guilds Inn. I don't think I'll take this one. I might just because I can. Migback, you working on your guilds pieces at the moment, or just streaming because you can? I mean, you're probably working on your guilds piece. I don't think I've seen anything that you've been working on lately. Oh, thanks everyone for the follow, by the way. Just randomly raided me. Wasn't expecting that. As I was talking to Lou, Pixie Lou. Yeah, like I'm really looking forward to the workshop. Yeah, because you're doing the workshop on hair. I honestly wanted to do every workshop, but then I wouldn't have time to socialize with anyone. So I did focus down and choose to do Siona's workshop and Jordan's workshop, because those, in terms of my skin tones, they're two people that I've really wanted to learn from. Just because it's something that I've been really struggling with. Yeah, you've got to come, Paint Era. It's a really awesome event. Yeah, and that was the hard choice as well. Doing an all-day workshop class for either Liam or Nat, and then having to do the little workshops as well. You can't do both. It just doesn't work. You know, I wanted to jump in Nat's class because I took like, it was, you know, the little seminars that we did at ARC, and I thought they were really, really fun. But you know, I think I leant towards the smaller workshops because then I could also, you know, take my time looking at everyone's work. I only wanted to do one a day, so I could have some social time, talking to people. You know, the big part of the event for me is the talking. I mean, everyone talking nerdy about paint. Like it's just that unique environment that I find. You know, you're only going to get there. The guilds meetups are very concentrated, little pieces of that, and then the Guilds Inn is just that on crack, and it's an amazing experience. Last year was fantastic. Yeah, so I'm really looking forward to it. Just catching up with everyone and entering and talking shop. Yeah, the model that Liam's picked is like insane. There's so much to work on that. Have you picked your model yet? Because I know, like, Jordan's bringing his Space Marine heads. Dano's class was bring your own. I'm like, well, that's harder for me traveling in. And then Siona's class, I think she's going to bring one of her own 3D prints or something, which I like. Like Siona's, I like Siona's models. They're cool. Let's have a look. Am I allowed to show this on stream, or do you want me to keep it hidden? That's what you're working on stream. Okay. All right. I will open up the link. Oh, cool. Okay. So let's see if this works. Yay, it worked. That's really cool. Oh, putting me to shame on my non-metallic metal, that's for sure. Oh, it's no, that looks awesome. And yeah, focusing on the hair, like that's another thing. Again, dude, your sketch looks better than my entire work. Come on. um, yeah, the hair, like hair was something again, even on this one. Yeah, from scratching in 4 hours. That's crazy. That's crazy. I mean, that is one thing I want to work on too is get faster. Just get faster. At the moment, I've been, one piece every 6 months, but that's because I work on it a few hours a week at the most. So I work on one element at a time rather than sketching the whole thing. And then, I don't know, I got to change my process, but I want to get faster. I'm probably sitting here chatting and talking too much, but yeah, I think at the moment I'm probably at the tail end of what I'm mentally capable of tonight. And but no, that looks really cool. And then oh yeah, yeah. That's the thing. Like for certain elements, like sketching this in and working on that. But when I'm getting to the nitty gritty, like painting the eyes, and I'm really focusing in, there's no way I'm going to be in frame and doing that kind of stuff. It's doing the simpler things. Like so, last stream I started on the beard, but the hair and the rings and the bone and leather and nothing like that was done. The only thing that was done was the skin. And even then, I've touched it up since. But I've sort of worked more on the face and the hair, and I've done all that off stream. And tonight, all I've been doing is roughing in the non-metallics, trying to place them correctly ish, and then of course I can work them up and hopefully get it looking a little bit better. And I'm going to spend some more time and find some more references because the ones I found references and following them, but I'm also trying to use my own light as a guide. So yeah, it's a nice model I think for doing hair. Yeah. I mean, at the moment, yeah, it looks like brushed metal, but I can see where you're putting the lights. It looks really nice. Yeah. Thanks for the follow, Migback. Appreciate that. Thanks for the raid. A bunch of people jumped in. But yeah, I think I'm going to call it there myself, to be honest. So thank you, everyone, for joining in and chatting. But yeah, I'll see everyone next time. Nice to meet everyone. And hopefully I'll see everyone at Guild's Inn if you are able to attend. Sorry to be late to the party. No, though, that's fine. I mean, there's a lot of people on. So, no, nice to meet you all. And I'll see you next time. See you at Guild's Inn. And see you at Guild's. All right. Take care, everyone. And hope to catch an actual stream. No, you will. You will. Don't worry. All right. Signing off. I should probably raid someone. How do I raid someone? Raid channel. I don't even know if I've still got people here. Probably should have checked that before. Do it. Oh no, Mike's muted. I've been talking to myself this whole time. Amateurs, amateur streamer. Thanks for letting me know. All right. All right, we're about to go in 3, 2, 1. I think that went.